Hey boys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, this is VVV Shaft, and you guys are tuning in to another episode of Metagame Magic. Hope you guys are having a good evening. I know I sure am. Um, alright, so, Metagame Magic, Zerg vs. Protoss, Immortal timings. That's what we'll be discussing today. I know a lot of Zerg players in the current metagame kinda had it figured out for a little while. You know, every single Protoss Forge Fast expands. If they can get away with it, they might even Nexus first. Now there is the one or two exception. The Millennium Adels of the world, the Gateway Protosses of the world, whatever. For the most part, people are doing Immortal timings because they're OP. Plain and simple. They're not, game breaking or whatever, but right now, they're OP. They won't be a month from now. The metagame shifts too quickly. But right now, people aren't responding correctly, and thus, they're overpowered. So how do you respond correctly to an Immortal timing? That really becomes the question. Well, I've heard as many responses as there are people who are willing to talk about it. VVV Galon, for example, recommends Baneling bombs. He thinks they're a good option. I'm not inclined to disagree with him. But that's not what we're trying to do for this episode. This episode, we're going to be focusing on Bad Man's response to Immortal timings because honestly it's my favorite. It branches off out of Stephano's build, which luckily I'm actually going to be teaching you guys verbatim, like step by step by step. So not only is this an episode on Immortal timings, beating it with Roach Ling on 3 bases, but this is also a lower level tutorial on simply how to execute a version of Stephano's 3-base no-gas style. So, for players bronze to masters, this episode should have something for everybody. That's the goal, at least. We will be looking at 2 games today, and for each game we're going to be looking at just a couple of benchmarks. But I do want to share with you guys something real quick. That's not what I wanted. Okay, here we go. Alright. It's just a little something I put together in Photoshop so that we had a list of benchmarks of each game and for you yourself. So I would even maybe pause this and write this down. Hopefully it's big enough for you to see. But essentially, what it says is 14 pool, 16 hatch. On the left-hand side is actually the build order. On the right-hand side are little notes about the build order. Kind of color-coded it for you guys. I went all out. No doubt, no doubt. But anyways, 14 pool, 16 hatch, skip if needed. What does that mean? Well, it's really common for a Protoss to block your natural. So, you're going to block his or hers. You're going to scout around 11 drones. So, you make your 9th drone, you make an overlord, you make your 10th drone, your overlord pops, you make your 11th and 12th drone immediately. The 11th drone you make, you send scouting. So if he's blocking your hatchery, you'll see his probe come up, you've already pulled a drone to deal with and attack his probe. So you always know if there's a pylon going down. You always know if there's some kind of cannon rush, unless he sends, a second probe, which is possible, but that's not what we're covering today. Today, we're talking about this opening. So, when that occurs, you pull your drone, but that pesky probe, it won't get out of your base, and it's still blocking your hatchery. You've got, 300, 350, maybe even 400 minerals saved up, and you're like, Jesus, what do I do with it? Just make an overlord, actually. It doesn't really matter that much. As long as you're blocking his and he's blocking yours, you're okay. So just make an overlord, skip that hatchery if needed, and just go from pool to overlord if needed. Now if you can get your hatchery down, get your hatchery down. Maybe even pull, a second probe. Force him to make that pylon a little bit sooner. There's all kinds of shenanigans within this one little step, and you can actually see it right here. There's a line, because there's so much that's going to occur between 14 pull and 16 hatch. So many variables, so many responses, so many possibilities that I just can't cover it. It's not that there's not a lot going on there, but I just can't cover it right now. Anyways, this tutorial will assume that he gets his pylon down, and when that occurs, you skip the hatchery, you make your overlord. You get that 16 overlord, you're going to make 2 lings, which is 1 pair, and then a second pair, and you're going to go knock that pylon down. That's this part right here. Okay? Once that's knocked down, these 4 lings, you're going to keep these active. Now, what do you mean by that? Well, throughout these games, you're going to notice that these 4 lings are basically the only defense that Bad Man is going to make for a very, very long time. The reason he can do that is because he keeps his lings active. That means they're always, 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 always doing something. We're going to talk more about that later. But then he gets his second queen, or his first queen, and his second queen. So 18 queen, when that one pops, it's going to be around 22 supply. So he's going to get another one. And each game, we're going to reference back to this, just to see how well he's doing as far as the benchmarks go. Anyway, 30 supply or around 5 minutes, this is essentially the same thing. See, it's just 2 different ways of measuring it. 30 supply approximately, or a 5-minute third base. Okay? 6 minutes or 40 supply, you're going to get your third queen and 2 gas. 7 minutes, Roach Warren and Evolution Chamber. Then around 52 supply, when your Evolution Chamber finishes, you're going to get your layer with your first 100 gas, plus your third gas. Halfway through your layer, you get your 4th gas. With your second 100 gas, you're going to get +1 ranged. Your third 100 gas, you're going to get metabolic boost. Pretty simple, but as long as you look at these benchmarks and in your own play, analyze it back, like we're going to do here with Bad Man, like where you're doing right, where you're doing wrong, you can constantly measure your progress. Because you can say, well, I was 15, 20 seconds late here in my first game, but then I'm only 5 seconds late in my second game, and by my third game, I've got all these timings perfect. Of course, it'll probably take a little bit longer. No need to get frustrated. Just relax, enjoy the game, and remember you're here to learn. That is the #1 rule. Remember, StarCraft is fun before anything else. In any case, hopping off the soapbox and straight into the game. Hopefully you guys are down and understand exactly what's going on. But in any case, we have in the top right-hand corner of Cloud Kingdom, the yellow Protoss, a buddy of mine, well, a buddy of mine, living in the United Kingdom. He is Dat Shrewdell. And facing the vengeful Shrew, we have the red Zerg. Here is my buddy, Bad Man, currently living in Korea and sharing tricks and techniques with you and I alike. In any case, this is just a build order. So here is that 14 pull we were talking about. He's going to make a couple of drones. And this is a scout. I didn't bother to see what time he scouted. Generally speaking, he likes the 11 scout, maybe a 10 scout, 9 scout. He varies it a lot based on map, but a good round number is an 11 scout. So here's that forge first. Here's a probe that is getting in position, and you can obviously see that a drone beats a probe in one-on-one battle unless the probe runs away, gets its shield back, and attacks again. Apparently, guys, I forgot to take the overlay off when I was going over the image. You obviously know that. But here is the overlay again. We'll be returning to this quite a few times as we're going through. but now I'm happy I read it to you. In any case, this is what the overlay looked like. Explained it earlier. 14 pool, 16 hatch. Here is where we are right now. So common for the Protoss to attempt to block your natural, block his or hers with your 11 scout. This occurs, skip the hatchery, make an overlord instead. Use lings to knock down the pylon if it's allowed to complete. So here's where we are, guys. Sorry about that. In any case, this is where the kind of pulling probes back and forth comes in handy. You see, these probes are generating its shield, trying to get its nexus down. You see, this drone is being chased away. Okay, so that is one little segment of what happened in that, I'd say, 30-second span of time. And we're going to now look over here at the Zerg perspective exactly the same way. Now, this is a little bit later because, just the Zerg expansion comes a little bit later. Here is the expansion. Well, it comes a little bit later in a not-so-idealized world. But, okay, so he's at his 300. His opponent's not even close to 400. The pylon goes down. That puts him even further away from 400. And our Zergy hits 400 exactly and makes an Overlord. I want you to see that again. Hits 400 exactly. We'll see it right here. There's 300. He can't get it down, can't get it down. He maybe even tried to get it down there, but right when he gets down, he gets 400, and he drops 100. So that's the Overlord being built, and that is exactly what you need to do in this opener, in this situation. This is how you deal with your pylon block. The pylon, in fact, is canceled. You can see it right there. So this next part here of using lings to knock down the pylon if it's allowed to complete, that's what that's talking about. This one, not allowed to complete, not necessary to do that step. That's why it's over here. So next up, we're going to make queen, followed by another queen. That's all pretty fine and dandy. There's the expansion, yada yada, so on and so forth. Now, while there's a little lull in what's going on, I want to talk to you guys a little bit. This is actually not an ideal game. This game is a mistake. And when I say that, there's a major failed engagement here in the middle. The entire defense of this Immortal timing is actually when the Protoss is pushing out, he's going to have a smaller force than he will once his pylon gets up and he can reinforce with his gateway. He's mostly going to move out with sentries, maybe a zealot or two, maybe a stalker or two, and whatever amount of immortals he wants to move out with. So he's going to rely on reinforcements as he's pushing across the map to really do anything major. And that is critical. So I do want to back it up just a second here. Because I want to talk about these four obnoxious little lings. You remember this part right here, this big bold letters and its own little section because it's so very important. Keep your lings active. Now what does that mean? It means here's an active ling, it's on a Zelnaga tower. Here's an active ling, it's on a Zelnaga tower. Here's an active ling, it poked up here, checked his third, and now it's going to come down here to see where his opponent is spending chronos. He'll be able to check the forge very smartly. The cyber core is hidden. Actually there's no cyber core down right now, but you always want to check whether a forge is being chronoed and whether a cyber core is being chronoed. Those are super important. Basically it tells you when and how invested the Protoss is in some kind of gateway shenanigans. If he's putting a lot of chronos toward warp gate or towards a +1, he's probably not going Stargate. He's probably not going immediately for non-gateway stuff. That's all that means. But anyway, here's another active ling. Guess what it just scouted? It's going to see this probe. And this right here, this probe, super important. Not only is it a pretty annoying scout, but it's also going to be how pylons get hidden randomly across the map. And, I mean, it's really, really, really important to scout that and make sure some stupid pylon doesn't get put down someplace that you're not aware of. So here's a approximately 5-minute or so third base. This is also approximately 30 supply. Actually, it's exactly 32 supply, but this is something hard to get the exact timing on. So approximately, you want to get your third between 4 and 5:30 at the latest. So next up, we're looking at 6 minutes or 40 supply. We get the third queen and our first 2 gas. So 6 minutes, third queen, first 2 gas. And this overlord obviously is going to be way, way, way important. It can check this gas, it can check this gas, it can be sacrificed in here to see what's going on. There's a lot of options that can be explored here. And here we are, coming up about 20 seconds away from those gas and that third queen. And we just see drones being produced. We see, Forge here, Gateway, Siler Core. There's a couple of chronos being saved up. Can't really be certain what for. Well, ooh, there's a robo facility. So I want to count gases. There are 3 gases here for the Protoss. There are quite a few chronos being saved up. Don't know what for yet, but obviously for something. I've got my 3 hatcheries down. I'm getting 2 gas, and I will be starting my third queen here in just a moment. Well, this isn't me, obviously. This is Bad Man, but yeah, that's what's going on. All right, so here is a sneaky little probe. And he's just essentially going to go all the way around and try to get some pylons laid. Here's a pretty good place for a pylon. These are also good places. This one right here is being patrolled by this Ling, so I mean, that is definitely not going to be the best place for it. Bad Man is aware that that's a good place. Here's another active Ling. These Lings are essentially just covering areas that aren't covered by the Zelnaga towers. So we've got 7-minute or so Roach Warren, 7-minute or so Evolution Chamber. Layer goes down with the first 100 gas. Our next 100 gas is going to be spent towards missile attacks. Yep, there we go. And just more drones being built. Right now, he's just focusing mostly on upgrades. When your opponent does Forge Fast expansion, up until around the 50 or 55 drone mark, you're fine. Like, you don't need anything but Lings active on the map. This pylon is so far away that it doesn't really count as a proxy or as a short reinforcement distance, which is the whole idea of a proxy. So it's far enough away that it's not a big deal. Bad Man is mostly focusing his efforts on things that are close by and within his control, which I really like that. So as soon as this layer finishes, what is going on? We're at 9 minutes now. So let's look back to this little chart here. First 100 in the layer, +1 range, metabolic boost, all that's good. We've been keeping our Lings active. Where we were right here, 15-2 supply. The evolution chamber finished, so he got his layer and his third gas. Halfway through that layer, he's going to get his fourth gas. Well, that layer's finished. Does he have 4 gas? Yes, but he's not mining off one of those. Okay, no biggie. When's he going to start mining from this? And is this just a mistake? That's why we're watching 2 games. We'll be able to spot for stuff like this. By having 2 games to compare, we can see what's a mistake and what's he doing intentionally. So we've got these roaches going ahead and moving out onto the map. Why is he going to do that? Well, look at this. If a Protoss attacks into this position or into this position, Force fields are going to do one heck of a number on the Zerg army. Same thing here. So the best possible position is this wide open space, this wide open space, this wide open space. Maybe run some units up here, get us around, get all kinds of angles. This is a really good map for Zerg. You just have to engage in the right spot. So Bad Man knows around 9 minutes. Well, his opponent should be pushing out. That's the latest possible time that his opponent needs to be moving out. And this is a Grandmasters, High Masters level game. So he's reading these timings spot on. 9 to 10 minutes, here we go, timing push. There are, let's go ahead and take a look at this. That is 7 sentries, 2 immortals, 4 stalkers. Nowhere near scary as it could be. So what he wants to do is come up here and get a incredible engagement right here. But there's going to be a problem. He accidentally splits his roaches. So this little divider right here causes a world of pain for Bad Man. And he's going to lose, 5 roaches or so for nothing. Alright, that engagement right there, that is the crux of this strategy. That engagement makes or breaks this. This failed engagement right here is going to lead to Bad Man losing his third. Losing that third is going to put him a world behind. Now, whether he wins or loses is irrelevant. What we want to look at is how he deals with this immortal timing. And right now, he's dealing with it atrociously, and those are his own words. So, I'm not just criticizing someone's play here. This is his own criticism. So, here's a Warp Prism. Wise play, considering he was having a hard time getting pylons down, but he does have a pylon down. He's getting another one down, so he's going to be able to slowly push towards the Zerg base, which is where the Protoss wants to be. So we've got this Roachling force right here, metabolic boost, not quite done. But this Roachling force, he hugs the Protoss army. I want to back that up, put it into normal speed. I want you to see exactly what he's doing here. Look at this. He's pulling away from the force fields, getting that Trudel in just a slightly less ball form. Mostly he's just getting a better position, and he hugs those Stalkers. The Stalkers are not going to be able to kite efficiently because now the Roaches are right up on there. And again, he takes an attack, moves forward a little bit. Essentially what he wants to do is get here to this sentry line. And now he's going to start target firing the Immortals, target firing the sentries. If he can take the sentries out of the equation, he can beat this with mostly Link. However, his opponent's starting to max in Zealots. So Lings may not be the best idea right now, even though all but 3 sentries are dead. 4 sentries have died right now. So now Bad Man is using his drones to defend, his overlords to defend, his roaches to defend. This does not look good for Steve. By any means. He's still 12 supply ahead. He's still a drone up. But he's losing this third. He's actually doing an incredible job here holding on. He's got the Warp Prism. The Warp Prism is like a major concern, but he can't address that. And that is what's going to push back Bad Man. He's taking some damage to his third, but by throwing these roaches at it, he's able to buy a whole lot of time to keep this third alive. Maybe, just maybe, he's going to be able to deal with this. He's maybe even going to be able to save some of these overlords. He just got overlord speed. Will he have the presence of mind to pull them away? We don't really know. Now, he's got these roaches here. They are moving in on the potentially kiting stalkers. But, again, he's throwing money at a problem. And he doesn't really have the economy to do that just yet. He's going to lose this third. Boom! Now, a lesser Zerg would crumble right here. This is great play by that Trudel. So he is a solid player. This is a formidable opponent. But Bad Man has been making mistakes. So we'll see. We'll see. Now, Economically, the Protoss is ahead. He's also a base up. This Ling right here scouts that. So now Steve has to make a decision. What comes next? And right now, in this disturbed little brain of his, he thinks a +1 roach timing followed by +2 and a lot more roaches. That seems like the right way to go. So he's going to send these 4 roaches in while attacking the third with a larger group of roaches. These 4 roaches are, killed off for the most part. Burrow is shown. And these roaches here have been annoying and now are going to just run away. He's got a lot more roaches just streaming in. And he's attacking from quite a few angles in multiple locations. Which is exactly what you want to do against the late game Protoss. Protoss armies are really weak when they're split up. When they're well put together, they're called death balls because they're synergized so well. But split them up like he's doing right here. Roachling here, Roachling here. Protoss begins to crumble. It's not that, this is any easier to engage, because it's not. It's a lot harder. But it's not over here to engage these roaches, or this overlord. I'm not sure why that overlord's there, but, I'm good with it. I am not a picky person. These roaches here, doing just the same thing, spreading him out. He's got this group of roaches here that just rallied in, so he could go either way with these. The Protoss having a really hard time splitting this army, showing us quite a small amount of multitasking ability, but he's still got some good timing attacks. Still a good player to learn from. Here's some probes being sent back to that Trudell's base, and a couple of those were killed off, so that's going to be to Bad Man's advantage. There's 14 to 16 drones killed now, and we can look at this income tab and see that economically, harvester count, they're tit for tat. But Bad Man has about double the mineral income, and that makes a big difference. More roaches actually being rallied in. We've got Burrow being abused to no end. Sentries being killed off. Stalkers nearly dead. There's 1 Immortal left on the field at all. Still more roaches being rallied into the natural. Maybe even a couple of them will cut up here into the main. And then here's 4 roaches that are just going straight for the third. All Bad Man is doing is making units and sending them in different locations. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. So here's Burrow, and then there's 2 locations being hit while the army is still chilling right here and trying to deal with this. Here's some more army for the Protoss, but this has not been addressed, and he can't really split his army. There's even more roaches being rallied in. Oh my. So this is exactly where Bad Man wants to be, but it's not. He lost that third. That never should have happened. And so now Bad Man is just basically throwing money into an unwinnable situation. Not that he can't win, but the longer this game dragged on, the more of a chance Shrew would have. By killing him now, before that economic downturn of his own expansion dying, and the economic benefit of Shrew getting his third up, before either of those can really factor in, Bad Man hit the switch, and it's basically a Stephano kill switch. Stephano is a player that is known for basically hitting a 12-minute max on roaches, which for anyone else wouldn't work. But for him, it's amazing. I mean, anyone else is going to get torn apart by higher tech. But he can split his roaches 5, 6, 7 different times, hit 5, 6, 7 different locations, and it's no big deal to him. So we're borrowing some of those ideas, but putting an original spin on them here, just because not everyone can play like that. More sentries just being picked off. As you're seeing, this may be an Immortal timing, but it's the sentries that are important. So, just going to fast forward this a little bit more. We see more and more roach carnage. Just roaches being split up from the main group as they're rallied in and killing off a Protoss base step by step. And as we go through this, we see the Nexus is almost killed off. We've got a lot of the higher tech being completely destroyed. 40 supply advantage there for Steam. And more Protoss army carnage on the field. And look at this insane number of roaches just massing up here in the middle of the map. And here's some roaches being sent to their slaughter in the Stalker camp at the 3rd. But here's some more roaches also being sent to the slaughter, but making their death worthwhile. And Dat Trudell drops the GG. Bad Man walks away with a victory, despite not playing ideal. So, again, what did he do wrong? He botched the most important attack in the game. His opponent was attacking him, but seeing as it's gonna engage in the middle of the map, it's about tit for tat as far as the conflict and aggression goes. So, but that was what was botched. That one little thing right here, splitting his units up, getting caught right here, GG. I mean, it wasn't game over by any means, as you can see, but yeah, I mean, that's where Bad Man went wrong there. So, now, we're going to look at what he does right. But, we're going to take a 5-minute break between here and there. So guys, I will catch you on the other side of the break. I hope you're excited about this game as I am. And, well, hopefully you've learned something so far, because I know you're going to learn something in the next part 2 of this episode. So, see you there, guys.